All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we got to talk. So this time, we're actually going to be having a discussion about a movie that I saw a couple of days ago called Weapons. So let me start off by saying what I am not, okay? So I am not a movie critic. I'm not that. I don't go to the movie theater with my pen and pad, anxiously writing down how the first scene doesn't particularly line up with scene 18, or I don't do any of that stuff. I just watch movies to be enjoyed, like to be entertained. That's what I do. I don't get into the heavy critiquing part. Um, I'm not somebody who anticipated this movie. I knew nothing about it. I was out on a Saturday night. My family, my wife, and my kids were at a party that I didn't care to go to. So I went to Barnes and Nobles, looked through their vinyl records, planned on buying one of those, didn't find anything. I was like, I wonder if there's a movie that's playing right now. I'll go to the movies real quick. So I looked and I saw this movie. I'm not a big fan of horror movies either. So I was just like, hey, whatever. My wife is definitely not into horror movies. So I figured it's the perfect time to go watch it. She's not with me. I'll go watch it, be entertained for a little bit. Let's see what happens. Um, so what we'll do in this conversation is we're gonna have a discussion. That means I'm not gonna do like a well like drawn out review where I'm giving all the I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to basically rant and rave and just discuss different things that popped in my brain while I watched this movie. The beginning of this will be spoiler free, and then the I'll let you know whenever I'll get into the spoilers later on. Um, so right now I'm just going to read about what the movie is about, the synopsis of the movie, talk about the tomato rating because I'm a huge Rotten Tomatoes fan, and then I'll go into my thoughts on the movie. So the movie says, when all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. Rotten Tomato right now is 94% and also 85%. So let's go ahead and get into my thoughts about this whole thing. So, like I said earlier, I'm not a big horror genre fan, but I was entertained by this movie from the very beginning all the way until the end. And I'm telling y'all, I know this sounds weird, but I'm a big advocate of watching movies without watching the trailer because the trailer gives so much away. I had never seen the trailer, didn't know anything about this movie. I just walked into it not knowing anything about the movie, so I just let it take me wherever it was going to take me. And it entertained me from the very beginning when the little girl was telling the story about what I'm about to be watching and all that stuff with that weird, creepy voice. It caught me from the very beginning all the way into the last credits. Um, I really enjoyed how this movie told a story from different perspectives. I'm a huge fan of when movies don't just do a simple linear timeline. I really do like when they show different perspectives. And I'm a huge fan of when they show one scene and in the next hour or so, they show that same scene from somebody else's perspective and it all lines out perfectly. And this movie did that a ton of times. And I thought that was really cool. I appreciated that. Um, I'm not giving a spoiler here, but like it was one scene where a lady came out of a store and she looked over and she saw a car. And she was like, that's kind of weird. But then she just kept on going. Well, later on in that movie, they showed what was going on inside of that car when that woman was walking out. I just thought that was real cool. It all just lined out perfectly. So I appreciated that. Got to give folks kudos on that. Um, One of the things I've got to give a negative score on, if I was scoring this thing, is I'm not a fan of like what I call cheap scares. I don't like cheap scares. And what I mean by that is like the cheap jump scares, just to be more specific. So when you're watching a movie, and let's say there's a vampire on the loose, okay? And then you got a lady who's walking through the building that everybody knows the vampire is in. And she's walking real slow and it's dark in the room and she keeps turning the corner. And you're like, that vampire is going to jump out somewhere because the vampire lives there. And this woman's walking through it. It's a dark room. There's going to be a scare pretty soon. When that vampire jumps out and scares you, that is logical and it makes sense. That's not a cheap jump scare. What I call cheap jump scares is, for instance, and I'm not going to spoil this, but if I'm sitting here, let's say if this is a movie and I'm sitting across from my wife and I'm talking to my wife and I'm looking at her and we're having a conversation, and then I look away and then I look at her again and she's got snakes in her hair and her face is all crazy looking and she's jumping like she just turned into a monster out of nowhere. That is a cheap jump scare where it makes no sense. Even if it's in a dream scenario, it still doesn't make sense. So if I'm wide awake and I decide to lay on my couch and I lay down and then I look up at the ceiling and there's a huge monster with fangs, he's just like, ah, jumping at me. That's a cheap jump scare because it doesn't make any logical sense. I thought this movie did that way too many times. We're just like, where'd that come from? Like it's just totally random jump scares. I don't like those. Um, but yeah, overall, really, really enjoyed this movie. Really enjoyed it. If I were to give it a score, I would say probably 8.5 out of 10. And I'm not a big horror fan. The one thing that does always drive me back to horror movies is because I do love movies with a sense of mystery in them. And I love, love, love movies that have twists in them. So if you watch a movie and then at the end you're like, oh, that's what was going on. That's like my favorite part of any movie that I'm ever watching. If it has a twist, it goes from like a 7 all the way up to like a 9.5. Like it automatically makes it jump like crazy if it has a twist. And most horror movies, not most, a lot of horror movies have twists, and that's what always draws me back to the horror genre. Um, but if I was gonna grade this, it would be somewhere like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. I liked it quite a bit. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the spoiler section of this thing because I do have quite a few things that I want to talk about, things that didn't quite work with me when it came to this movie, things that I loved. I want to talk about different parts of the movie and get more specific and just talk about more details and also parts that just had me like, what? So let's talk about the first one. All right. Once again, this is a spoiler section of the video. So there's your warning on it. So let's talk about was it the first jump scare? Yeah, let's talk about the first jump scare. When we've got the main character, I forgot her name, but I think she's the same lady that was Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four. I think she's the same actress. So she wakes up in her bed and she looks out the window, or she looks out of her room. There's no one there, and then she's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go back to sleep." And then she lays down and look up, and that crazy Gladys, I think her name was Gladys, is on the ceiling like, ah, like that scared the heck out of me. So I had one lady on this side of me and one lady on that side of me. And again, I went to the movies by myself, so neither one of these ladies were with me. Let's make sure we get that out there. But both of them jumped like crazy onto their significant others. Like they jumped. It was crazy. It scared me too, I'm not gonna lie. But I don't like those kind of jump scares. I just find it cheap. It's just cheap to me. The other jump scare is when I think you say his name Brolin. Josh Brolin is, so he's in his dream, and it's obvious that it's a dream. They showed us from the very beginning, like, okay, he's dreaming. He wakes up, he looks down at himself, and it's like, okay, he's obviously dreaming here. Towards the end of the dream, he's watching his child. He walks up to the bed, and I'm like, oh, his son is gonna turn around and scare us so bad. I was like, this is gonna be the worst jump scare ever. So ends up just rolling over and just staring at him. And I'm like, okay, they fooled me there. No jump scare. So then he's sitting there looking and talking to his child, saying like, talk to me, and all this stuff. And then they keep looking at at Josh Brolin's character, and they'll show his child just staring at him. Then they jump back to Josh Brolin, and they go back to his child staring at him. Then they're looking at Josh Brolin's character, and he's talking and talking. And then next thing you know, the child has turned into that the clown witch. Like scared, like it scared the heck out of me. And I'm not easily scared like that, but it had me super shook. Didn't like it because again, I felt like that was a cheap scare. Didn't like that at all. Um, Another part of the movie that didn't really work for me is so at the beginning they show the kids on the video footage on the Ring doorbell, whatever you call it. They show the kid do his Naruto run out of the front door, just take off running across the street. And then they show some other video, like some other parents in the neighborhood also had video of their kids running in a certain direction. I kid you not. Like, I'm not the smartest guy. My ACT scores will tell you I'm not the smartest guy. But my first thought was, why don't they just use the footage from all of these different cameras to to triangulate where the kids are going? Like, if you have a door here and you see a child run that way, and you have another door and that child runs that way, it seems like you should be able to pinpoint where they were running to. That was my first thought when I saw that. So when Josh Brolin's character goes into the office and he's basically berating the police officers, like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Which I'm not going to lie to you, I've been in those situations before where I felt like the police wasn't doing enough. And the police is like, man, we're following every lead that we possibly have. We're doing everything that we can possibly do. Just give us a shot at this. We'll figure it out. I'm like, it seems like they should be able to triangulate where this whole thing, like where they're all running to. Like it just seemed obvious to me. That's what I would do. And then when I saw Josh Brolin's character pull out the paper that had like the map and all that stuff on there, and he starts to triangulate this stuff, I'm like, duh, there it is. Like, so it just made me wonder, like, why did the police not do any of that stuff? That was crazy to me. So yeah, that part just didn't really work because I'm like, if a simple guy like me can see that, I don't know why the police and all of their staff couldn't figure this out after weeks of searching for these children. That was just weird to me. One of the parts that made me laugh, I'll talk about this part. It made me laugh, and it actually made the entire stadium laugh because I went on October 23rd, I'm sorry, August 23rd, and this movie's been out for a while, and it was packed. And it was a big auditorium at the AMC. It was packed. So the whole auditorium laughed at the end of Josh Brolin's dream when he jumped up and he looked. He's like, "What the f?" Like when he said that. When he said that, the whole auditorium started laughing. Everybody. I remember I went to see Friendship not too long ago. That Paul Rudd movie. I went to see Friendship. And as funny as that movie was, there wasn't a laugh that loud in the entire Friendship movie. I'm telling you, the whole theater busted out laughing on that. I thought that was real funny. Another part I want to discuss is the needle part. Ooh, that part creeped me out. So it was actually two different parts with the needle. First, he's like, is there anything in your pocket that would stick me or cut me or anything like that? And homeboy's like, nah, nothing in there. No, there's nothing in there. So he reaches in there, pokes his finger. Ooh, that was gross to me. Because I'm thinking, ain't no telling what this fool got. Ain't no telling what he got. And then later on, he asked him, like, hey, man, you got AIDS or something like that? And the dude was like, nah, I don't think so. That part was pretty funny, too. It's like, nah, I don't think so. Like, okay, whatever. I wouldn't even be asked to do because it ain't no telling what that man had going through his veins. But that part was funny. So then the other part, when that drug head was running to his tent, he zipped it up, and then somebody starts to unzip it. My first thought was, oh, that might be the police officer chasing him, and not that crazy clown lady that he just saw. So dude unzips it. He takes all of these needles and just stabs him in the face with it. Oh my goodness, that part was so gross to me. Grossed me smooth out. But I thought it was pretty cool how they did that. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, that that drug head, he was hilarious to me. He had me laughing. Almost every time I saw him, I was laughing. I, as much as I despise a thief, And as much as I hate people that break into people's cars because I've had checks and stuff stolen from my car before. So like I despise it. But watching him walk up and down the street on the phone and just randomly just pulling on door handles like just, I said, my man gotta get it how he lives out here. That was crazy to me. It was funny. It was funny seeing it in the movie, but it was also kind of not funny to me because I've been a victim of that before. So I still had to laugh at it. That was pretty funny. If you see me keep looking here, it's because I've got a few different notes on different parts that I thought was funny and things that I want to discuss. Um, the scariest, I don't know if it's the scariest, but the most creepiest part that just sent chills up and down my spine is when the main character, I don't even remember what her name was, but she was the teacher. And she's out in front of the house. And they show like first it's broad daylight. Then they show her again, and then it's like a little darker out. And they show her again, and it's completely dark, and she's knocked out, sleep. I'm like, oh no, it's about to get crazy. I thought she was gonna end up waking up and then deciding like, let's go into the house. That's what I thought she's gonna do. So she sleep, and all of a sudden, the door opens. And when you see this dimly lit house, and then the door opens, and it's just complete darkness inside of it, it's just naturally creepy. Like when you just see that house with the door open, it's creepy. That's number one. Then you see a lady come staggering out of there with her hair all crazy, looking nuts. Oh my gosh, that creeped me out so bad. And then the main character, like I'm like telepathically talking to her, like in the movie, like wake up, wake up. Like I'm just freaking out. And the woman gets right up to the window, and I'm expecting her to bash the window and snatch her out or something. But then she just disappears, and I'm like, oh boy, they're going to hit me with a jump scare. The jump scare is coming. Here it comes. But then all of a sudden, the back door opens, and then the door closes, and I'm like, oh no. And when the door closed, the car kind of shook. So the head character, her head kind of moves. And I'm like, all right, she's about to wake up and look back, and or maybe she'll wake up and drive, and this lady's in the back seat. What's about to happen? So then the lady just reaches up and cuts a piece of her hair and goes on about her way. But that whole scene was so creepy. Like I give them an A plus 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 on that whole scene from beginning to the end. Because the worst thing about a movie, I would say, is probably something that's predictable. And from the very beginning of that scene, I had no idea what was going to happen. I predicted what was going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to wake up and go into the house. And then, nope, the door opens and then somebody comes out. So I'm like, okay, she's going to hit the window and then they're going to have a fight or something and she'll drive off. And I'm like, nope. Like it just, every time I guessed something was going to happen, it was the opposite. Like, oh, she's going to break the window. Nope. She's actually going to go in the back seat and just open the door. Like it was really impressive. That was really, really impressive to me. Um, Sometimes I do read a little bit too much into movies, and I know like Jordan, you're thinking too deep. I even have a T-shirt that says, "Give me a second while I overthink this." I have that T-shirt somewhere upstairs. So I'm watching this movie, and I'm seeing the kid, and he's feeding his parents, and he's feeding like the kids in the basement, and I just felt horrible for this kid. And I'm like, I keep telling myself, like, brother, you're not supposed to be feeling like that. Like this, it's not that kind of movie. You're supposed to just take it for what it is and just move on. Like focus on the crazy narrative that's going on. But my heart was broken for this little kid who's shopping for food or soup at least because he really can't make anything else. So he's shopping for soup to feed his parents, and then he's shopping for soup to feed the classmates. Like it was just like the heart wrenching feeling that I had watching this whole scene play out. I'm like, oh man. But I kept on telling myself, brother, you are overthinking this. But I couldn't help it, man. I hated to see that whole part. Next part that I want to discuss about that movie is how shocked I was when, so they've got the main character pumping gas. She's pumping gas like a typical day, right? And then all of a sudden, Josh Brolin's character, he comes up there and they start getting into a little argument, having words with each other at the gas pump. Then she looks over and it's none other than the principal that she was talking to on the phone earlier in the movie. And this fool is doing the same Naruto run that the kids were doing. But he had like what I thought was like red paint all over his face. And his eyes are bulging out and his mouth is all it was the most that was the most shocking part of the movie to me. It was just like, what? Like it was something that I didn't expect that. It just was like, what is going on right now? And then he's attacking her like a rabid dog or something. That was a crazy scene. And the way that they were running through the gas station and the homeboy yelled, "Get out of my store." I thought that was hilarious. Um, the other part that I'm thinking most people will find the most shocking is when the principal grabbed his partner, put him on the ground in the kitchen, and just started wailing on his face with his forehead. Yikes. I saw that. I was like, oh my goodness. And remember those movies Saw back in the day? Saw part 1, 2, 3. Every now and again, I would be like super cringed out, but I never would turn my head from looking at the TV. When I saw that man headbutting homeboy into the kitchen floor, I literally had to turn my head to keep from looking at it because I didn't see any of those. I don't even know if they showed the impact of his forehead hitting the man's face, but I didn't see any of it. Every time he would pull his head back and then start going down to the guy, I would just turn my head. And I could hear the sound, but I never saw it because I was like, I do not want to see any of that. Ooh, that was creepy. It was just gross. Um, the Another part that I want to talk about is the part towards the end. Not when the kids are chasing the woman. I thought that was really funny. But the part where Josh Brolin and the main character walk into the house. And this is just after the lady tells the little boy, don't step over the salt. Like she said it just so nonchalant too. She was like, FYI, don't step over that salt, and just walked off. I'm like, I wonder what that means. So they walk into the room, Josh Brolin and the main character, which I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but you know what I'm talking about. So they walk into the room and they're looking around and the police officer is like waving her over. I'm like, what is he doing? First he waved him into the house and then he was standing way back against the cabinets and he's like waving her over. Like, what's going on? And you could see on the floor, like she's about to step over the salt. And again, maybe that's like a witchcraft thing. I don't know anything about it, so I'm like, what does it mean to step over the salt? Like, I don't know anything about that. Maybe that's a common theme in like other horror movies that I've never seen before, or it's something that people discuss widely in their witch circles or something. I don't know, but like I don't know what's happening here. But anyway, they show a close up of her foot about to touch the floor, and then boom, it hits. And as soon as it hits, homeboy comes out of the background screaming like a crazy man as he was. The drugged out homie. And he jumps on Josh Brolin. They fighting and fighting. But I thought it was real funny. And the whole audience laughed at this part too. Because the dude kept running and like jumping at him. And he would just like he would just throw him, like just dismiss him. Or as we call it in the football world, we just basically telling him get out the club. Every time he would come, he would just whoop, throw him the other direction, or he'd come and flip him over the top. He just kept throwing him and doing whatever he wanted to do with him. I thought that was super funny. The scary part, though, like we talked about the jump scares. That's one thing. But when that boy's parents were chasing him through that house, oh my goodness, that was scary. And then they had that like shout out to The Shining, right? They had that scene that was real familiar. It looked real. It was basically like a shout out to the Shining. Whenever they were breaking the door, and then she looked through the door and was looking down at the boy. That scene was scary. Like that is scary. Uh, so it doesn't take a jump scare to scare people. When you do stuff like that, it's like that scene, that picture is scary. Like I'm a grown man and I looked at that and I'm like, that kind of scares me a little bit. This woman is running and screaming at this boy, banging on the door. She and her husband banging on the door. And then they get pieces of the door broken and they looking through it at this boy. I was like, yep, that gets first place for scary prize. Like that's the first place scary prize. That right there. That's it. That's the winner. That had me like, yikes. Um, and then we could talk about towards the end where the kids are running off. Mm, let me talk about this part real quick. It was a jump scare, but it wasn't a cheap jump scare. When Josh Brolin's character goes downstairs, you probably know what I'm talking about. He goes downstairs and he's looking for his son. I forgot what his son's name was. I don't remember what his name was, but let's just say it was Ashton, which it wasn't. And he's just looking, Ashton, is that you? No. Ashton, is that you? He's just turning all these kids around. Ashton, is that you? No. Ashton, is that you? No. Shout out to my cousin Ashton, by the way. Ashton, is that you? No. And then he turns, and then the woman is there, and she's like, "Rah!" Like that part was scary too. Got me real good. That is not considered a cheap jump scare because it makes sense, right? That part was scary. So towards the end, the little boy figures out like, okay, I didn't watch this woman. I didn't seen the game she didn't play. I know how to do this spell stuff. So he figures out how to do it. Gets her hair because she had all of her hair falling out, which I thought was super clever. All of her hair was falling out because she was sick. So he grabs some of her hair, wraps it around here, breaks it. And them little kids went crazy. Jumping through windows and watching that lady run. And the homeboy was outside cutting his grass. And he look up and he sees the old lady run past. He was like, that's weird. And then he sees like 17 angry, screaming little kids running by. He was like, that's weirder. Like the faces that he made was hilarious to me. And I figured they would probably jump on her and do like some monkey bounces, like banging her with their hands or something like what monkeys do. I figured they would just beat her to death, which I don't know if 17 second or third graders can beat an adult to death or not, but that's what I figured they were going to do. They started pulling her apart and stuff. I was like, yeesh, it's a little much for me, but hey, it's your movie. It's a little much for me, but it's your movie. Go for it. Do what you do. Um, but I thought the movie, like overall, man, I just thought the movie was super impressive. I really do. I think it was really impressive. One of the best movies I've seen this year. I saw some people said that it was their favorite. No, they said it was the best horror movie that they've seen this year. I don't talk in bests or worst when it comes to um, art. I think it's silly to say this movie's better than that movie because who's actually to say if, and I've said this before on this channel, if I tell you that Jay-Z's Blueprint 1 is better than Nickelback's first album, who knows which is quote unquote better? I can tell you which one I enjoy more, which is Jay-Z's album, but I cannot say Jay-Z's album is better than anything else. It's just opinions, right? So that's why I like to say what I liked more or what I appreciated more. I don't say which movie is better. So whenever people said that they felt like Weapons was the best horror movie that they've seen this year, I would say the movie that I liked the most from the horror genre has been Sinners. Like Sinners was top notch to me. Top notch. Um, but I can't really think of how many scary movies I've seen this year. Probably just a handful of maybe 5 or 6 scary movies this year. And we're all the way here in August, towards the end of August. But yeah, I would say like Weapons was really good, but I enjoyed Sinners much more. Maybe it's because of my culture and because Sinners celebrated my culture so much and they showed things that I have seen growing up. And I saw people that I could relate to firsthand because they looked and talked just like my cousins and my brothers and whatnot. So maybe that's why I appreciated Sinners more than I appreciated Weapons. But that's not to say that Weapons wasn't a good movie or wasn't impressive. Like, I really enjoyed it a lot. And again, I would say if I was graded, it would be somewhere between an 8 or 8.5. Sinners got a complete 10 out of 10 for me. And again, I don't even like scary movies, but Sinners was, it did everything for me. It did everything. It checked every single box. It checked every box. Weapons did that. I just thought there were too many cheap jump scares. And I also looked at how it felt like the police officers should have been able to find those kids. If somebody as simple as me, when they first see the video, can go, oh, well, all you gotta do, not all you gotta do, but if you just triangulate where these kids are running, they should all be running into the same direction. And whatever that direction is, wherever they cross, go look right there. And that's what they ended up doing. So that I gotta give them a little score off for that. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this movie. Super impressive. I don't know much about the director. I don't know anything about the writer. Apparently, he made a movie called Barbarian that I need to watch now. But yeah, man, super impressive. Super impressive. On this channel, I'm not going to do a bunch of movie reviews. I basically talk about what I'm interested in. So if there's another movie that I ended up watching and liking, excuse me, that I'm super interested in that I want to talk about, I'll be talking about that. But yeah, mostly I talk about news, things that affect my community, do a little bit of sports here and there, but a little bit anything that I'm really interested in. All right. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, I really do appreciate your watching. You're simple, like you simply pushing the like button does a whole lot for this channel, and I really do appreciate that. You simply subscribing to this channel does a whole lot for this channel, so I really do appreciate that. All right, that's all that I got. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Take care. God bless and peace.